Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about my teen left and won't come home. If you are in a situation where your teenager has chosen to leave your home, live elsewhere, for whatever reason, this is going to be for you. Today I'm going to talk about why some of these things happen. There's going to be some hard truths, some hope, some tools, and there is no quick fix or pill at the end, so I'm just going to say that outright right now because I don't think this is discussed a lot, and I think it's time to start talking about it. I know that people caring, courageous parents like yourselves might be struggling. There's a lot of shame attached to this. So I want to give you some background, some context, understanding, and again, as I said, some tools and strategies to help move forward, not fix it all, but to help move forward in a way that you can find some more peace in the situation. And more importantly, you can keep the door open with your teenager or young adult for a reconciliation at some point in the future. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, and I've been working with parents of teens for the last 15 years to help them end the painful disconnections, stressful silences, and emotional blow-ups to create relationships based on trust and respect. I was a very troubled teen. My parents and I just did not get along at all. And I've raised two teens as well. And so what I'm going to share with you today, I've got my notes here, is what I hope is helpful for you or perhaps someone you know, and that you would share this with them if they're really struggling or feeling alone and heartbroken, deeply heartbroken in this situation. Now, I do want to say a caveat. I am not going to discuss parental estrangement. Okay, I am not going to talk about if you and your co-parent, your partner are separated, divorced, whatever, and one of your children, shared children, lives with the other partner and you feel is being intentionally estranged from you. I am not going to discuss that. I am not a lawyer. I do not know the ins and outs of that. So other than the emotional pain in which today you might find some help with, I just want to tell you up front, that is not what today's about. Today is about if you are estranged from your teen because your teenager has chosen, for whatever reason, to live outside of your home, really regardless of what age, okay? All right, so let's dive in. The first thing I want to acknowledge the level of heartbreak, despair, devastation that happens, that you might feel if you are in this situation. I did a talk about this on TikTok yesterday, and the parents that were sharing so much of their personal experience of those feelings, as well as anger, rage, resentment, frustration. All of it is real. All of it is okay. It's all welcome here. You have the right to feel all of those feelings. This is hard stuff. And I will never tell you that it's easy. So whatever you're feeling, full permission to feel it. Okay? Trying to suppress your own experience of this painful situation is not going to help you to repair or resolve this situation at any time. Okay? So what I would like is for you to, number one, get yourself a counselor, a therapist of your own. If you're already attending like family therapy with your teen or etc., awesome. That's fantastic. Best case scenario. I would like you regardless to get your own professional support to help you to express, process all of the emotions that you are likely going through, because they're real and it is okay to have them. Even if you were told that you weren't as a child, even if you were told that those feelings were too much, they were bad, they were taboo, they were messy, they were just kind of like less than, you should be all put together. That's bullshit, and that's not a game we're going to play here. So let's be real, shall we? If you need a space to cry and scream, go create that. Go sit in your car every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day. The reality of this extremely difficult and challenging, painful time is if you are not going to express and allow your own emotions, not much is going to change. And that's a hard truth, okay? So you do you. That's number 1. Because I'm talking to you, so that let's address that up front. Okay, the second thing I wanted to let you know is that your teenager left for a reason. That reason is not to lay blame, fault, right, wrong, such that you would need to take all responsibility for the fact that your teenager is choosing to live elsewhere. Nope, I am not saying that. I am not saying that whatsoever. So, sorry, I've got hair. I can't do it when it's on my arms. Your teenager chose to leave for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. I don't know. The reason I'm saying this is because this particular situation is so hard to be with when you have sacrificed so much of your time, your energy, your finances to, I'm sure, give this child a loving, well-rounded home, create experiences for them. I know that you are invested in that. Absolutely, I know that you are. And you've done the best you can at it. So that is why I'm not saying this is about fault or blame. Because you see, if you turn yourself into the martyr in this, where you are feeling like a constant failure, you're beating yourself up every single day because there's something you must have done wrong, and what happens is you create an unhealthy relationship dynamic where you are now running after your teenager to beg them to come back. Please come back. I'll do anything. Please come back. I'm so sorry for whatever I did. Please come back. Stop it. That comes from a older style of parenting, which is how I was raised because our parents didn't know any different, that you might have learned that when someone is unhappy around you, you are responsible for being away or doing things that make them happy. Okay, I'm just going to say right here, right now, you have never been responsible for anyone else's feelings, ever. And unfortunately, you are not powerful enough to fix or change anyone else's feelings, even though that might have been what you were told when you were raised by your parents. Like the whole, oh, don't do that, your dad will be so angry, or oh, your mother is going to be so upset. You know what? Whatever. Your parents' feelings are theirs, not yours. Does that mean that you shouldn't be considerate in a relationship and understand what respect means to both ways? Absolutely, of course. But I'm saying if you are holding yourself hostage, beating yourself up every day as a failure, such that now you are begging and pleading your teenager to come home, that's not going to work. Because your teenager will never have the capacity, or young adult, capacity to manage your insecurity, because they sure as shoot don't have the capacity yet to manage their own. So, take yourself off the hook, please. That is not helpful. You do you, let your teen or young adult do them, okay? So that's number one. Now, here is the flip side of that. Your teenager left for a reason. The flip side of that is collecting as much data as possible from as many people and situations as possible to prove that your teenager is purely a bad apple. You are faultless. None of this has anything to do with you. Your teenager's just difficult and obviously very different from the rest of the family. And so they chose to leave, not because of anything you did. And you have enough data to secure yourself to ensure that your perspective remains unchallenged because you are simply unwilling to look in the mirror. That also does not work. I guarantee you that will keep your teenager or young adult away for, well, perhaps years, even longer. You are the adult in the relationship. You have the fully formed brain. They do not. Are they faultless and off the hook? Absolutely not. I understand that this is so hard to be with, that what happens as a defense mechanism is our brains say, nope, I'm good. I am good. I've done all the things. I've tried all the things. And then I have all this data, you see, from all these people and situations that proves that I really am like, I'm fine. Thank you. This is all on you. How do you expect to have a resolution? Do you want a resolution? If you don't want a resolution, that's fine too. That is fine. Some relationships are just not healthy. If you don't want a resolution, cool. And if that is a boundary for you, cool. I respect it. However, projecting your pain and anger onto your teenager as a way to maintain your emotional safety so that you don't have to look any further or be part of a solution, yet consistently dog your teen or young adult about how they are the problem. Yeah, I don't understand if you're looking for resolution and you want someone to change in order to create that resolution is all over on them. That might have been part of the reason that they left. There might have been something like that showing up prior to when they left. Maybe they were in an ineffective way, as teens can, asking for change, begging for change, trying to get your attention to create change. But because they were escalating in their behavior, probably not helpful, we could even say destructive, because they do not have a fully developed brain or the intellectual filter to effectively sit down and say, mother and father, or mother and mother, father, I don't care, whatever. This is not working for me. These words and phrases I feel offended by. I would like to negotiate our relationship. Yeah, good luck to you on that. Good luck. So if your teenager's been escalating for some time and now that is also feeding your data as to why your teenager is 100% the problem and it's not you, because you're like, they're obviously in a state. So if they chose to leave, well, I guess they can sort themselves out. You might want to have a look at why was their behavior escalating? Why was their behavior escalating? All behavior is communication. It's not just for toddlers. Shocker. it's also for teenagers. The teen and the toddler brain are very similar because they're going through a massive brain renovation. So communicating big, hard, heavy emotions, they don't have that yet. Yes, your teenager's brain is developing the capacity to experience big, hard, heavy emotions. They do not yet have the skill to effectively name those feelings. They don't just like wake up one morning and have like software installed. That's where you come in. They don't have the capacity to effectively discuss or express those, process them, or heal from them. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, teenage brain it's a bit of a challenge. So if your teenager's behavior has been escalating, then I would say to you, I wonder what they were trying to say. I wonder what the unmet need was that they were attempting to communicate, however poorly. I am not saying your teenager's scot-free in any of this. No. But why was that behavior escalating? Lying, sneaking out, substance use, stealing, what was it escalating? I wonder why. All behavior is driven by emotion. 100% of behavior is driven by emotion. So that's why the phrase, if you've heard it before, all behavior is communication, that's what that means. It's coming from, I have an unmet need, or I have dissonance in my emotional experience. And by the way, teenagers live in their emotion center because of the way their brain is reforming. Literally, it's growing and forming. It leaves them very emotionally reactive, hypersensitive, defensive, in pretty much always a mild state of fight or flight. So is that easy to work with as a parent? Oh, hell no. It is not. That is job security. That is why I do what I do. Okay? I'm just bringing up some points that might be helpful for you to look at. So far I've covered 3. Number 1, beating yourself up to hold yourself hostage, blaming yourself to constantly beg and chase your teenager to come back, not helpful. That's an issue. Go get help. That's an issue, okay? Number 2, if you see your teenager as completely at fault, the bad apple, this is all on them, you're fine, you're faultless, there's nothing else that you could do, that may also be an issue. That might also be an issue. Relationships are not one way. And although you may feel like you have already given everything you can, and again, space is okay, a boundary is okay, but saying, nope, they're just a bad apple, they're terrible. I'm going to tell you something from personal experience. No teenager is so bad that they are unlovable. No teenager is so far gone that they do not deserve to feel love and respect, to feel safe. No teenager is that far. You and your teenager may live on different planets. Literally. Thank you so much. Your teenager may live on different planets, okay? Totally. That does not make you morally better than your teenager. It makes you humanly different than your teenager. Values are not morality. You are not more on a moral high ground. And if you think you're on a moral high ground with your teenager, yep, that relationship's probably never going to be repaired. It's just not, so long as you are willing to turn your righteousness or rightness into morality, such that your teenager is wrong, less than, broken, bad apple, a brush off unlovable or undeserving of love and respect. That, my friends, is where hate crimes begin. That is where all hate crimes begin. The minute that you can dehumanize someone to the degree that you feel you are truly more valuable, worthy than them, there's a steep problem. Now, I want to tell you, your anger and your pain, which are very real, it feels like a knife through your heart, cutting it open 16 times, ripping your heart out, stretching it like butter toffee, take a meat tenderizer to it and then run over it a couple times. When your teen chooses not to live with you, it is not fun. And your pain and your anger about that situation, your level of rejection, like there's very few things that are that rejecting when your teen chooses not to live with you. It's real. May be clouding your willingness to see your teen as in pain, broken, in desperate need of something, an unmet need they don't have, which I'm going to tell you right now, they want from you. It has been proven over and over that even in highly abusive situations, highly abusive, like significantly criminally abusive situations, children will always seek approval and love from their parent or primary caregiver, whomever that is, regardless. So your teenager is similar to a 2-year-old. Just like your 2-year-old used to kick and scream when they had big emotions and they were angry at you. Do you think for 1 second that in that moment that they were really angry at you and kicking and screaming that they didn't also want you to say, I love you. I am not put off by your emotional mess. I have boundaries around your emotional mess. And I understand that you are also looking to me to say, I love you in your emotional mess. It's okay. I won't be put off. I have boundaries. I can't say that enough times. I have boundaries. But you cannot push me away such that I will believe you are unworthy and unlovable, even if that's what you currently believe. And you are behaving in a way where you are giving it all to try and win me over to that perspective. I will not. I will not. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say about this is that if your teenager has chosen to leave your home and live elsewhere, the hardest thing I think about this, because it is heart-wrenching, is that your teenager has made a vote for themselves, not necessarily a vote against you. Now, if I go back to the 2-year-old temper tantrum for a second, it would be hard to see in this situation that your teenager is not doing this to further hurt or spite you. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I want you to know this, your teenager can make a vote for themselves that isn't necessarily a vote against you. And if you are willing to see those as two separate things, you've instantly taken a step toward resolution or restitution or reconnection. Okay? They are voting for themselves in an extremely difficult and painful way, and don't make up for 1 second that this isn't difficult and painful for them as well. You might be thinking, oh, well, that's easy for you, isn't it? You don't pay the bills. You can just walk out and leave. Must be nice. No, it's painful. Because again, every psychological study that you will find shows that even in the most horrific situations of abuse, felonies, Children desperately want their parents' love and approval, or primary guardians' love and approval. So your teenager may have left as a way of setting a boundary because they don't understand boundaries. They don't know how to effectively communicate it because they don't have a developed brain. So stop pretending they do. Just because they're taller than you, they know how to use a toilet, they know how to get dressed, they know how to feed themselves, does not mean that your teenager has an adult level brain. They don't. So let's just be in reality about that. You're welcome to look it up. Don't believe me. So when your teenager is making a vote for themselves, it is their way of saying, I am not okay here. And the only way I know how to continue right now is to create space. Now, if you and I were in a relationship and I was really struggling, okay, with any relationship in my life, and you were like, Allie, but why do you keep staying in? It's not maybe a toxic, terrible relationship, but why do you keep, I think you just need some space. And I looked at you and I said, yeah, you know what? I think I just need to take a couple months and just create some space. You would probably say to me, yeah, great idea. That's a great idea. Yet when our teenagers make that vote for themselves, we shit all over them because they're selfish. They're just doing it for them, and they're just doing it for attention, and they're just doing it to piss off their parents. Okay, that's one way to look at it. So you're allowed to set boundaries in your relationships, but your teenager's not allowed to set a boundary for what works and what's not working for them? It's kind of a double standard. I'm not saying your teenager is, again, super developed and awesome at this, okay? But making space is actually a healthy thing. Creating space in a relationship can be extremely healthy for it to take a breather if it has gotten to a point where it is simply not constructive to the destructive patterns have become so overwhelming and consistent that there isn't a significant level of positivity to buoy your relationship and build resilience on that to manage those destructive patterns, okay? So be careful of that judgment of your teenager leaving and setting a boundary in a way that is very hurtful for you and very painful, and yet you're allowed to set boundaries. Okay, so there's that. Is it going to feel like it's against you? Yes. Are they going to want to think it's against you? Nah, in some cases, some teenagers make darn good and clear. This is about I hate you and all of the things, right? Even in that, do not mistake how difficult this is for them. If you think for 1 second that they want to leave the family unit where things are known and safe and familiar, it's hard. It is a hard choice to make. Okay, now, next thing I want to address, is your teenager safe? Now, again, if your teenager has left the home to live on the streets, is drug addicted or in some kind of a substance addiction, is in a very unsafe situation, would you do everything in your power to get them back? Yes, of course. Law enforcement, any kind of child or youth protective services, yes, of course. Do it. Do it. They still may need space from your home, okay? However, here's what I want to say. If that is not the situation, is your teenager safe? I'm not saying, do you agree with how they are living? That is not what I said. I said, is your teenager safe? If your teenager is safe, then I want you to allow them the space, because here is what ends up happening. They are trying to set a boundary and create a breather. And if you are going after them just simply for the purpose of getting them back home, because there is a lot of stigma around this as a parent. It's just another place where we continue to shame each other if your teenager has chosen not to live at home, okay? So you want your teenager to come back and live at home purely because of the insecurity of what it feels like and the shame, very real parent shaming that goes on when your teenager has chosen to leave. That's not a good enough reason to ignore the boundary your teenager is trying to set to sort themselves out or possibly creates a healthy, more positivity in the relationship. You're ignoring their boundary. You're ignoring their boundary. So if your teen is safe, then I caution you in going to gather them or keep bringing them back home so that you can what? Control them, change their minds, double down. I'm going to say if it didn't work in the first place, it's probably not going to work that way. It's not going to work now, okay? Now, if they are safe, even if they are living in an environment that you feel is outside of your family values and beliefs, which can be very hard. If they're living at a boyfriend's house or a girlfriend's house or, some other place, and they are living in a way that is outside of your current value system, that is hard. Is that a reason that they are evil and that you need to hate them? No. Is that them saying, screw you, with one of these, and making a vote against you? Not really. Even though your teenager may be living in a way that is outside of your current values and beliefs, if they are safe, that is what is most important, is they're safe. So trying to allow them that space and maintain some kind of communication is more important than getting them back to enforce your values and beliefs even harder. Because you can look up all the studies if you choose. You cannot instill values and beliefs in an adult or a developing adult brain, in an adolescent brain, because values and beliefs is something that their brain is supposed to go and develop on its own. They are supposed to be, it's called differentiation and individuation. There's two simultaneous processes, psychological processes in the brain that are different but overlap. And one of those is determining what they believe in, what they value, and that it inherently might be different than yours, even if you birthed them. You cannot discipline in or punish in your values and beliefs to their brain and their heart to make you feel better. Because remember, values and beliefs are not morality. You are not a better person or have more value because of what you believe or what you don't believe, and your teenager isn't less than because of what they believe or don't believe. So if this is happening, your teenager's chosen to live elsewhere because, oh, you're welcome. Because of a difference in values and beliefs, this is often, again, why it happens. Tell me what you think is going to work about gathering your teenager to bring them home, to put them in the pressure cooker, to try harder to get your beliefs and values to go into their head. That will tank the relationship further, create even a wider disconnection and divide. You can't. So please stop. Yes, your teenager may believe different things, may hold different values. And it's not easy. That was one of the things between my parents and I, is we inherently just had different values and beliefs. So we were doing this all the time. All the time. So I would ask you this. Is there room in your relationship with your teenager for them to have different developing beliefs and values, yet still live in your home? Or does that feel too emotionally unsafe for you? Dr. Brené Brown calls that dissension. If there is no room in a relationship to dissent, it means not agree, to have a voice that says no, I don't agree with that. If there isn't room in a relationship of any kind for dissension, and it requires you to deny, suppress, or abandon yourself to believe in what the group believes in order to feel loved, that is, in fact, the definition of fitting in, which is counterfeit. A counterfeit version of true belonging. And this is where so many relationships with teens and parents go off the rails, because we were taught and raised in more absolute authority, command, control relationships, because that's what our parents learned. Okay, parenting was based on like an industrialized military model. That's what they knew. We now know that the impact of growing up in an environment where you are required to deny, suppress, or abandon what your brain is developing as true for itself in order to be loved or approved of by people, so there is no room for dissension whatsoever, whether it's in conversation, God forbid, or much deeper level of values and beliefs, it significantly increases anxiety, depression, levels of suicide, deep people pleasing, difficulty setting boundaries with people. There are significant impacts. So I want to say this to you: your values and beliefs are true and right for you. Those are not up for judgment. They work for you, and as long as no one's getting hurt, grand. I honor and respect those. Doesn't matter if I agree with them. Your teenager has the same right, and it is a function of their brain to be developing their own, and they may not be yours. So if you are uncomfortable with dissent, if you are uncomfortable with disagreement, that's an issue. And it's not easy. My kids don't agree with the things, some of the things that we do in this house, and they make it known in a respectful way. And we have some hard conversations, respectful, but we have some hard conversations about how to navigate. Okay, we all live here. Don't pull well, I pay all the bills, so it's my way, the highway. Pretty much guarantee that will also create even more disconnection. Yes, it's my home. Yes, I pay the bills. And I want my children to know that they have a voice. I don't want them to walk around and espouse my values and beliefs in the world. What the heck good would that do? I want them to discover and begin to amplify and explore their own values and beliefs. And that means that's part of why the teenage years are so darn freaking hard. Because you are living in a home with minors who need a safe place to live, who may completely disagree with how you choose to live. So is there room for dissent? Are you willing to be in conversation and understand that just because your teenagers don't agree with some of your values and beliefs doesn't mean they don't love you? Because those are not the same thing, so don't bother conflating them as the same. Just because your teenager disagrees with your values and beliefs doesn't mean that you aren't lovable. That's a message that you were taught as a child. Okay? It doesn't mean that you aren't lovable. Like these are just, they're not the same thing. And this is part of the problem, is you and I were raised in homes where dissension was directly correlated with disrespect. And I mean dishonorable disrespect. You did not disagree with your parents. You did not, it was so abhorrent, and vilified. You were significantly punished, criticized, shamed, guilted to getting back in line with the family line and towing it, or you were simply disowned because you were embarrassing and a whole lot of other things, right? I'm getting a whole lot of agreement here on that comment. we now know the psychological studies that show the trauma and the literally the trauma that creates. It's not easy. It is not easy. It hurts me every time. And that's Anish me. That's me. It hurts every time my kids tell me. They don't tell me in a cruel way. I still find it hurtful. I still do. And I'm learning to be in that conversation with them in a way where I know, because I've chosen to done a ton of work to know I am safe, I am secure. This is not negotiating my value as a human. Their dissension is not defining my worth as a parent or as a human. Their dissension is just purely that. It's just disagreement. It is them expressing to me who they are. And I would rather know who they are, even if they don't live with me, than require them to be who I am and spend their lifetime having to emotionally heal from that. So, relationships require both of you own the relationship. Okay? You both take ownership of it. The problem here is that your teenager doesn't have a fully formed brain and you do. Does that mean this is your fault? No. Does it mean that resolution or restitution is completely your responsibility? No. Does it mean I expect you to be treated like a doormat and walked all over in order to achieve that? Hell no. All I'm saying is, please understand that this is not easy for your teenager either. If you are at all willing or have the resources to create a family therapy, family counseling environment, and I will tell you, it is very difficult to find a therapist or counselor who is qualified to do that and do it well. I'm sorry, but that is my current data because I get to hear about it every single day. Okay? Pursue that. Pursue it richly. And if not, continue to pursue help for yourself, because you have every right to all of your feelings, all of it, the anger, the blame, all of it. You have every right to it. However, do not process it in your relationship with your teen, because your relationship with your teen is on very shaky foundation. So trying to bring your pain and your struggle into that will crumble the foundation. Please go and give yourself the opportunity to go and process your emotions elsewhere. Do not process them in the emotion or in the relationship, okay? Last thing I want to say is, if you have not already read Dr. Harriet Lerner, Lerner, her books on the dance of anger, the dance of connection, I recommend to all parents who are in any form of estrangement, There's also a mother-daughter connection book, which I think is great for dads as well. Dr. Harriet Lerner is great. She's a researcher. She does a lot around forgiveness. And so her books are extremely helpful, not because I'm asking you to purely forgive your teenager. I'm not asking. You will do that if and when you are ready. And there is a portion of this that will require you to, number one, forgive yourself. Number two, forgive your teen. And understand this dance of anger and this dance of connection. She also talks a lot about love notes. So if space is what your teenager has created a vote for themselves, not a vote against you, okay? Create space, then you can do something that she calls love notes, which are very short, brief texts or handwritten notes that do not require a response. They are not manipulation, emotional coercion, guilt. They are not any of that. Here is an example. You might say to your teen, I was making grilled cheese sandwiches the other day, and I remember how you and I used to eat them when you were little, and you loved when the cheese hung off your chin like vampire teeth. That's it. That was a text I sent. That's all. Does not require a response. It is not guilt-driven. It is not attempting to coerce them into something that they are not ready for. It is simply a love note. That is all. Be careful on your frequency of these. Love notes should be relative to the current state of your relationship. So if your teenager has said no contact, I do not want contact with you for I don't. Then you want to be cautious of this because you don't want to disrespect that. That won't go well. But maybe you say once a week. You just, something like that. That's it. No expectation of return. If you're doing it for expectation of return, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Don't do it. Just tiny little, it could say thinking of you. Thinking of you is a little generic, and teenagers tend to say thinking of you is like kind of like a cheesy out because it doesn't take any effort. You can get a GIF that, like on your text, a GIF, not a gift, but a GIF that says like thinking of you. Okay, maybe something a little more personal, because what you don't realize, your teenager is over there and being pissed at you. Of course, they're mad at you, but they're also saying, God, I just want to know you love me. Please tell me that you love me. Even when I'm a hot mess, you love me. I'm not saying don't have boundaries, but even when I'm a hot mess, that you love me. Okay? So Dr. Harriet Lerner talks about that in her book, so please do that. I want to also tell you, if you would like more assistance with this, you can, if you're here on Instagram, hit the follow. If you're on YouTube, give me a subscribe. On Instagram, you can tap my name and then the link in my profile, scroll down to the bottom, and you can book a session with me. I'm happy to talk through this with you. You can also, my programs are all coming up in September, and they will all be helpful to you. I forgot to mention one last thing, so I want to do that quickly because my time is running out. Being pissy or angry at the place which your teenager has chosen to live, as if it is somehow their fault, is not helpful. It will do nothing. Now you're estranging the place that's keeping them safe. So what is that serving? Even if that place is outside of your current beliefs and values, if your teenager is safe, has a safe roof over their head, that environment is not like someplace you need to call the police, in which case if you do, please do. Projecting your pain and anger on that place where your teenager is now currently laying their head because you are so hurt and angry, as if somehow that place is now responsible for the dissonance in your relationship. That's not helpful. I understand why it might feel good. It's not helpful. This is not the place that they're living at's fault. Whether this is a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, it is not their fault. Let's go back to the one thing. This is your child, and they chose to leave for a reason. And I will say for the last time, that does not mean this is your fault. It doesn't make it your teenager's fault. It just means there was something not working. And if you're willing to look there, I am more than willing to help you uncover that. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I am here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time talking about all things parenting teens. You'll also find me on TikTok at Allie Payne. I do lives on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific. And I have a YouTube channel, Allie Payne. And if you're watching from there, thank you for watching this. All my other resources that are all free and content, all of that is on my website, alliepayne.com. Visit there, and I hope you find what you need. And if you can't, send me a message. I will get you whatever resources I absolutely possibly can. Thank you so much for joining me. And I want you to know, if this is a situation that you are in, there's no blame or shame here. You are always welcome here. All of your feelings are welcome here. And if this is someone that you know, please send this to them so they feel a little bit less alone, because I think we need to start talking more about teen estrangement and empowering parents to have the information, awareness, and understanding to navigate it, not fix it, but navigate it, so that there is a greater opportunity for resolution or restitution at some point in the future. Thanks again for joining me, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.